where both Fabi and Prag are fighting for the world number 3 spot. Prag at an ELO of 2784, while Fabi is at an ELO of 2783. And so, whoever wins this game will take over the world number 3 spot. Of course, Hikaru and Magnus are currently at world number 1 and 2 spots with 2800 plus ELO. Handshake here, and off we go. Prag with a fine win in round 1 against Gukesh opens the game with 1 e4. And Fabi says, I'm out here for blood. He goes for the Sicilian. Pawn to c5. Knight comes out to f3. And now Caruana brings his knight to c6. He's like, if you play d4, the open Sicilian, I'm ready to go for the Sveshnikov. Prag is like, no way, Fabi, I'm allowing that. I'm going for the Sicilian Rosolimo. He plays his bishop to b5. Pawn comes up to g6. Maybe to put the bishop on this long diagonal. And white simply castles it out here. Black goes bishop to g7. Now, few plans here for white. One is c3 d4. The other is rook e1. Just improving the rook's position so that at some point you can tuck the bishop into f1 square. The knight comes out to f6. And putting pressure here in the center. Can we push the pawn to e5 is the question. Well, Prag takes on c6. I believe the more popular way to recapture is d takes c6 here. But Fabi goes b takes c6. He's going all out. He's playing the Sicilian. He's taking on c6 with the b pawn. He's giving a clear indication to Prag that I'm out here for a big fight. e5 played to push the knight away. The knight jumps into the center with knight to d5. And now white plays pawn to c4, attacking the knight. Fabi brings his knight back to c7. You can see from the time usage, Fabi is very well prepared, while Praggnanandhaa looks prepared but is trying to recollect his lines. He goes knight to c3, black castles here. And how does Prag respond to this position? He goes d4, the best move in the position. It takes on d4. And you have queen takes on d4. The queen comes into the center of the board. And now knight to e6, attacking the queen. Fabi still blitzing it out. He's at 133.47. And you know, when a top player is blitzing out his moves, it's kind of uncomfortable for the opponent. f6 again, all planned. And you can see Prag. They're looking at the move carefully. He's like, what to do? And you know, after nearly 30 minutes of thought, or maybe 25, e takes f6. Which is perhaps okay. The maybe more testing move was knight e4 here, with the idea of if you take, I go to g5. But okay, e takes f6. And now knight to d4 played. Maybe not the best. The best move perhaps was queen g3, knight d4. The problem is now black can quickly, yes, simplify with f5, offering a queen trade. And Prag needs to take the queen, so he takes on d8. And now rook takes d8 is an excellent move, because if knight e6, d6, the rook opens up. But instead Fabi takes with the knight. He's a bit afraid of knight e6, d6 position. There's rook to d1. Attacking and basically defending the knight here. And rook comes to e8. The threatening take, and rook e8, rook e1 mate. Prag brings his bishop out to e3. A simple, safe move. Getting the bishop out. And now pawn to d6. With this move, he's just simply saying that, hey, I'm just opening up my bishop here. But Prag now is slightly better. He can go b3, rook a c1, a good move. It feels like Prag's position is definitely for choice, but Fabi goes rook b8, a very good move. And now b3. I like this move. And then just maybe go knight e2, put pressure on d6. Many ways to play here. But Pragg goes for the slightly unconventional, or you can say the artificial move, attacking a7 and d6. Knight goes to f7. Interesting move, because now I think Pragg wants to chop off the pawn on a7. He takes it. Bishop takes a7. There's rook to b4 played, putting pressure on the c4 pawn. And he goes rook to e1, offering a trade of rooks. The problem, of course, was not so easy to defend this pawn. If you move the knight, b2 is hanging. So rook takes rook, taken. Now rook takes rook should be the natural move here. Takes. And for black, maybe some options, yeah? Goes king f8. Simply stopping rook e8. And now threatening bishop c3 and rook c4 ideas. The bishop comes back to d4. And maybe now taking on d4 is important. You can't take rook b3 because I have intermezzo bishop g7 and then taking the rook. So bishop takes d4. And after rook, knight takes d4, the b2 pawn is hanging. So takes on b2 and knight takes c6 is possible here. Will Pragg take it? Yes, he takes on c6. Pragg still keeps his extra pawn. But Fabi is so quick to make the move. Rook c2. You can also see his time usage. He has 50 minutes. Pragg is down to 14 minutes on the clock. Knight goes back to e2. Now, you can take on c4. It's possible. You can also take on a2. Both moves look good. He takes the pawn on a2. And now Pragg goes in with knight to d4. He brings his knight into the game. And Caruana goes rook to a4, putting pressure on the c4 pawn. And he goes rook to c1, just defending the pawn here on c1. King comes up to g7. And pawn to h3 played. So we have a kind of full-fledged endgame here. Although I don't think any side particularly has any reason to play in this position. And Pragg with his next move kind of shows it completely that, okay, this is basically my draw offer to you. Pawn takes pawn, rook takes pawn. Bishop d7. I mean, in some ways, you can see that what level player like Pragg has reached, because a draw with Fabi with white pieces is not particularly a result he would be thrilled with. Of course, it's a decent result. It's not a bad one at all. But then again, he would have wanted to push further with the white pieces, make Fabi's life difficult, and well, it's because he is world number 3 right now. Fabi unable to wrest that spot over in the live ratings from Pragg. So, and there we see the players are repeating their moves. King f6, and Pragg plays rook c6 and offers a draw. They look for the arbiter there and says it's a threefold repetition. I'm going back king g7, and we have the arbiter here. He's asking, what's your move here? King g7 is what he wants to do, and a handshake here. A very, very cool game, and we just put this on fast forward here at 10x speed, which just goes to show how much time Prag and Fabi actually spent discussing this position.